What's going on, everybody, and welcome back to the Draft Report. In today's video, we'll be doing our first position rankings, and we'll be starting with the quarterback position. I finished up my scouting for all the top guys in this class, and I think it's time that we rank them and give my opinions on each one. I have made videos for the top 6 guys if you want to get a full breakdown, but this will be ranking the top 8 on how I feel they will do at the next level. So we get it started with number 8. Michael Pratt out of Tulane. Not someone I've watched a ton of, but someone with a solid arm, solid athleticism. Not going to wow you with crazy throws, but pretty accurate to all levels. Not great under pressure. His pocket presence isn't great, but I like his footwork in the pocket for the most part. But can deliver the ball to all 3 levels to a decent extent. Probably never going to be a franchise quarterback or even a starter at the league, but can he be a high-end backup? Most likely. And if you're taking him in the 4th round and you just want him to be kind of a safety option that maybe could get some spot starts, I think he's a fine option, but nothing amazing there with Michael Pratt. We get to Spencer Rattler, who's a little more of a high upside guy. Was the number 1 high school recruit coming out of high school, and went to Oklahoma, was this big name, and got beaten out by Caleb Williams in the middle of the season, and we know how that ended up for Caleb. Rattler would end up transferring to South Carolina for his final 2 seasons, where his stats were rather poor, but I think a lot of this is due to his offensive line and not really having a ton of weapons. He had Xavier Legette, obviously, and Juice Wells is solid, but his weapons weren't anything amazing, and his offensive line was awful. He was under pressure like off the snap immediately, and that pairs with probably his biggest weakness, which is his decision making. Led to a lot of picks and a lot of poor throws, but I think overall he's a guy who has a live arm. He is a smaller guy, like 6 foot, 212, I believe, but big enough to play the position, can run. Even though his 40 time was like a 4.9 something, I think he plays faster on the field, even though he's not some crazy athlete. He can definitely move and escape the pocket, and then he has a very good arm to test all levels of the field, can really sling it downfield for a smaller guy. So I like that aspect of him. Rattler, the stats aren't great. He's a little bit of an older prospect, probably more of like a 3rd round guy, but he has pretty high upside. His pocket presence is actually very good. He does a decent job avoiding sacks, and it's just his decision making, not even under pressure, just overall. He makes really stupid passes, but I think he's a guy that has the upside to be a starter at the next level. Probably wouldn't want him starting year 1, let alone even year 2 probably. But as a long-term upside play, Rattler's pretty good, especially for the value that you could get him at the 3rd round. So I'm decently high on Rattler, but not enough to put him ahead of the top tier of guys for sure. And then we get to where the real rankings start. I think everyone kind of has Rattler 7, Pratt 8, and then it's how you rank 1 through 6. And my hottest take is probably Penix at 6. I know a lot of people like Michael Penix, but I'm just not there on him. He's a guy who's very old, played 6 years in college, and 4 of those years ended with season-ending injuries. Tore his ACL twice, and then both shoulders had season-ending injuries, which is very scary. When he got to Washington and was protected better, he didn't get hurt, which is good. But, he's not a guy who's going to go out and escape the pocket. He might be a better athlete than it looks like because he is just kind of scared to run. But, he had like negative rushing yards on the season, I believe. So, he's not a guy that is doing anything out of structure. He's purely a pocket passer. And even at that, I don't think he's great. Like targeting in the middle of the field, he's not strong. And most of his production was just coming from throwing rainbows up to Rome Odunze. And he would either track it perfectly or go up and get it, which helped his stats. He was throwing to Polk, Rome Odunze, and Jalen McMillan, who, outside of Malik Neighbors and Brian Thomas, that's clearly the best wide receiver core in the country. And, as a pocket passer, his best thing is his deep ball accuracy, I guess you'd say. And his deep ball accuracy is such a receiver stat, especially when you're playing with Rome Odunze and Jalen Polk, who are guys that just moss everybody. Odunze caught 75% of contested catches, and we're really trying to say that's a good thing for Penix. I just don't see he processes well. I like how quickly he gets through reads and he can make full field reads, which is a very good thing. He played in a pro style offense, so there's definitely positives there. But you're drafting a guy who's going to be 24 for his rookie season with major injury history, and I don't even think he's super polished right now. He does a good job avoiding sacks, but I don't think his footwork under pressure is amazing. And then his mechanics are awful. I mean, I know people say it's just because he was a lefty, but he does have this weird slinging release. His accuracy is pretty poor, I'd say, to short areas. Under pressure, he completed under like 45% of his passes. I mean, he's just not an accurate thrower of the football. And I think people get this misconception that he's this throwing lasers all over the field, and he is. He throws it hard. He has a great arm. I don't even think I mentioned that yet. That's his biggest strength. His arm is very good. He can zip it. He can actually throw with touch occasionally, and then his uh, range on his throws is amazing. He can really spread the field with his arm, and that's what made the Washington's offense so good. Is he could just really spray it down the field, but as an NFL level quarterback, I just don't think you're getting a franchise guy. My comp for him is Jared Goff, and I feel like that's kind of a high end comp. I mean, Goff gets a lot of hate, but he's a very high end pocket passer, and I just don't think you're getting that level of accuracy at all with Michael Penix. So maybe it is ceiling. He could be Jared Goff, but are you taking a guy whose ceiling is Jared Goff anywhere near the first round? Probably not. So I think he's most likely going to be a guy who's a backup, and that teetering around like 25th to 32nd best quarterbacks. Some years he'll be a starter, some years he'll be a backup. Think like Jacoby Brissett level, where he could be a starter for a lot of teams. He is a very high end backup, but is he ever a franchise guy? No. And I really don't think his ceiling is anywhere near a franchise quarterback. So not a big Penix guy at all. Even if he was the injuries and age weren't a thing, I wouldn't be a huge Penix guy. But then you factor that in, it's like, what are you? You're taking such a big risk on a guy who the reward isn't that high. So that's kind of my thoughts on Michael Penix. Not a huge guy. He's my sixth quarterback. Another guy I am lower on consensus than J.J. McCarthy. So he's getting vaulted into like top 2 pick conversations. I heard the Commanders' top choice in quarterbacks is J.J. McCarthy. If that rumor is true, I just don't know where we've gone. You have a guy who obviously won a national championship as a quarterback. That's awesome. But that doesn't make you some awesome quarterback just because you won in college. His team won in college. His defense was amazing. The run game was spectacular. And the offensive line was great as a run blocking unit. And so they just pounded the rock. His receivers are solid, but I mean, nothing like I'm knocking Penix for having some great supporting cast. McCarthy honestly didn't have some great supporting cast. Cornelius Johnson and Roman Wilson are both going to get drafted, but they're not like superstars. So, it is impressive, but his numbers aren't good. He's poor under pressure. And I think there's this misconception about his arm. I mentioned it in my video. He's a very rotational thrower, so he gets a lot of zip on his ball because he has such good mechanics. But he really doesn't have that live of an arm. It's kind of a below average arm. And when he's asked to throw with touch or from a different platform or really spray it down the field, he doesn't have that. So I think his arm is average. He gets zip on the ball, which is nice to fit into tight windows, and he's aggressive targeting those tight windows, which I like. He's not afraid to throw over the middle of the field, which a lot of young, raw quarterbacks are. So there's some positives with McCarthy. You're getting a guy who's very elusive. I don't think his straight line speed is anything special. He's an above average speed guy, but he's no Jaden Daniels or Justin Fields or something. But elusiveness in and around the pocket, I really like. He can his short area quickness is very good, and he can very quickly get in and out of his cuts and juke people out. So as a runner, I'd say he's NFL like above average for the NFL and can really be a threat with the legs for sure. But again, I feel like people are acting like he's as toolsy as Anthony Richardson, and you're just not getting that. But I think that's kind of a comp because they're both these like raw guys, and obviously McCarthy had more winning and more success in college. But it's this trend to take these toolsy quarterbacks, and McCarthy definitely is that. He's a higher upside guy because he can throw it hard, and he can definitely fill out his frame and become a more strong runner and passer. But like if I'm taking a guy who's that raw and like the film is that poor, I don't like his accuracy. I don't like his reading of the field. He's a one read guy. He gets through his reads slowly, and he didn't throw it that much. Like if Jim Harbaugh and Michigan is trusting him that little, I just don't think NFL teams are going to want that. Like if you're in a college system and you have a guy who's going to the NFL level and he's trusting you so little to do stuff and just always running the ball, that's kind of a concern for me. And McCarthy, I just can't get around on the tools being so elite that you need to take him. I mean, end of the first round, I'd be fine with it. I have like a third round grade on him, I believe. I see him as kind of a backup. I really see Zach Wilson and Daniel Jones in him. I mean, guys that can run, guys that have good zip because they're athletic. He has very good hip like flexibility, I think, and that's why he gets so much whip on that throw, but his arm is not good, kind of like Zach Wilson. You know, you saw it at the pro day, that amazing turnaround throw or whatever they want to call it, and I just see the signs there of being a Zach Wilson again, and I really worry about a team taking J.J. McCarthy in the top 10 to be a franchise guy. Can he be a starter in the league? For sure. Can he be a starter at day one? I don't know. And you're taking a risk on a guy whose upside is not as elite as we think. So that's my problem with McCarthy. Still a guy I kind of like. I'd be willing to take him in the first round, maybe, but top 10 is way, way too steep for me. So we get to my number 4, which is Bo Nix, and when you're comparing Nix and McCarthy, I think it gets overblown, the tools. Nix has a better arm than McCarthy. I'm not afraid to say that. Can he get as much zip on his throws as McCarthy? I don't think so, but he has better range. He can throw off platform a little more, and I think he's a little better out of structure. I mean, Nix is a guy who has good athleticism and is willing to throw off platform. McCarthy is, obviously, but I don't love his accuracy overall. He's accurate throwing on the run, McCarthy. But Nix is more consistent out of structure and especially in structure. I mean, I know people get knock on him because it's dump downs and everything, but 78% completion percentage this year in college. That's not something you can teach. That accuracy is special, and I think it's getting a little people aren't talking about it enough. 78% of your passes complete. I understand that ADOT was super low, but it's still crazy impressive. I mean, in the short and intermediate areas, this guy does not miss. His accuracy is unbelievable. Getting past one read, his accuracy kind of falls a little bit, and that's a little bit of a concern for me. But he showed the ability to make full field reads, and he's athletic. I think his tools might be better than McCarthy's, and I know that's like crazy to say because Nix is viewed as this like super low floor or low ceiling guy, but compared to McCarthy, I like Nix better in the fact that he's more pro ready. From day one, he can read an NFL offense and he can be accurate to all levels of the field. His deep ball is not great, I'll give you that. His deep ball flutters a little bit for sure. But short and intermediate areas, he can be a guy that makes full field reads. He can be a guy that gets through reads quickly, and you can trust him to not put the ball in harm's way. Can I say those same things about McCarthy? No. I mean, I get that at their highest potential, McCarthy is better. But Nix has just as good of an arm and is just as athletic as McCarthy while having better production in college and, being a guy that showed that he can run NFL-ish offense. His offense he had a lot of training wheels put on for sure, but I just think the people that have McCarthy way ahead of Nix and the fact that McCarthy's going to go top 4 and Nix might not go in the first is just crazy to me. I think they're both mid to late first round guys, and I'm not some huge Bo Nix guy, but I just think, especially compared to McCarthy, he's getting a little underrated. So that's my opinion on Bo Nix. Then we get to number 3, Jaden Daniels. This is another gripe I have. A lot of people have Jaden Daniels as number 2, have Drake May as like number 4 quarterback. I mean, I just don't get it. Jaden Daniels, amazing runner, truly special as a runner. I'm not taking that away from him. He is so explosive on the ground. He's fast. He's twitchy. He can break tackles easily. And then, this dude does not go down, and it's kind of a positive and a negative. He is not afraid of contact. He'll run into any hit, and I mean any hit. He does not slide. I've never seen this dude slide. And then it's kind of a bad thing because he is so small that I worry he'll get hurt, but he hasn't really gotten hurt. So I think his biggest trait is that ability to just not go down, but I kind of worry that as a smaller guy, that's not going to be as successful at the league. And then as a passer, that's where my problems kind of are. His deep ball accuracy is amazing. But again, like I said with Penix, how much of that is him and how much of that is Brian Thomas and Malik Neighbors? Like, I don't want to take it away from Daniels because his accuracy was so unbelievable on those, but it helps that you had two top 15, top 20 receiver picks on your offense, So I think that's a little overblown. Deep ball accuracy is more of a um, team offensive stat compared to a quarterback alone. And then over the middle of the field, he doesn't target the middle of the field to the level I'd like to see. Um, I don't think he makes full field reads super well. He's kind of a one read guy. And then the weird thing is, you think of this great scrambler that Jaden Daniels is, and you're like, he's going to be so amazing out of structure. He's going to be like Mahomes, but he's just not. Like, when he decides to scramble, he scrambles. He never really is looking to throw when he's on the run, and it kind of takes away from his true upside because he's such a dominant scrambler that I feel like he could leverage that into better throws, but he doesn't do that a ton. He's just kind of one read. If it's not open, I'm going to run, and running definitely works for him, but he's just not. People see him as this like Lamar Jackson level guy, and Lamar is miles better as a passer, and he can kind of sustain hits a little better, I feel like. But we'll see with Daniels. I'm not a huge Daniels guy. I have like a mid-second round grade on him, but definitely worth a top 10 or top 15-ish pick, top 10. I'd be willing to do. But again, people wanting him at number 3, I'm a little eerie of, but I think it's going to happen, and I wouldn't I wouldn't hate it necessarily, but I worry about Daniel's ceiling, I'd say. I think his floor is pretty safe because he just will immediately make a offense so good on the ground, and he can throw that deep ball well, which is nice, but I don't think his arm is anything special, and as a overall passer, he's not great, and he's on the older side, so there's definitely some things I'm concerned about with Daniels, but he's a good prospect. His running is unbelievable. And then we get to the 1 and 2. At number 2, Drake May. No surprise. I do like May and Williams pretty close to each other, but I've just come to realize that Williams is just another level. But to talk about Drake May, crazy arm talent, unbelievable arm. He can spray it 70, 75 yards downfield easily. He can throw off any platform. He can run. I think people view him as this like pocket passer, but he's not. He is athletic. He can truck through people. His running style is like Josh Allen. He's not afraid to take hits. He's not Josh Allen. Don't get it wrong. But he's not afraid to take hits. He's not afraid to run through contact. He is a playmaker. I saw him throw a touchdown left-handed. He'll throw from any platform. He'll extend plays. And when you think of a star quarterback, you think of a guy like Drake May, a guy that can win from within the structure of the offense and out of the structure of the offense. And I think he and Williams are the only guys that can do that in this class. So, May is a playmaker, as I've said, and then within the structure of the offense, he ran a pretty NFL-style offense with not great surrounding pieces. I really like his ability to get through reads quickly and read the field. His accuracy is the biggest problem for him. I think he was like 40-something% overall, so not great there, but I just the talent is undeniable. Again, like I've talked about with McCarthy, it's all about traits, and May has, like, I said Anthony Richardson earlier. He's not Anthony Richardson level traits, but he's like a step down from that, and he's young, and he was good in college. So I think Drake May is a complete package, and in most classes he'd be the number 1 pick easily. And I think it's crazy that teams are considering taking J.J. McCarthy and Jaden Daniels over this guy. I think that would be so stupid. He is just all around better than both of those guys, and I really like Drake May, but not enough to put him over a guy like Caleb Williams. I mean, where do you start with this dude? He is the most unbelievable playmaker I think I've ever watched in college football. It just, I don't care that he holds the ball for 10 seconds every time he takes a snap. I mean, when the ball's in his hands, you don't know what he's going to do. He can run straight through you. He can juke you out. And then he can throw from literally any arm angle and any platform with accuracy. It is unmatched what this dude can do out of the pocket. I love the Mahomes comparison. He's not Patrick Mahomes. That is a crazy bar to set for someone. But can he be 90% of what Patrick Mahomes is? I think so. And I don't think that's a crazy expectation for him. This dude is so talented. His arm strength is unbelievable. His legs are unbelievable. Is he the fastest guy in a straight line? No. He's not Jaden Daniels when he's running it, but he's such a threat. passing off platform. And I think that's what Daniels is lacking, is that ability when he is out of the pocket to make something happen. I mean, Williams will just dart around and bounce all around the pocket, bounce, throw, run outside. You just, like, he's a maniac. You don't know what he's going to do, and then he just throws to a guy wide open. His accuracy on the run is unbelievable. I don't love his accuracy just overall, like targeting the middle of the field. He'll try to change the arm slots way too much, and it ends up being inaccurate. But that's something you can coach out. He's a guy that has that success in college. I mean, I know people will point to the record this year, but again, record is a team thing. Are we really going to try to say J.J. McCarthy was a better quarterback this year than Caleb Williams? That'd be stupid. Caleb Williams was way better than J.J. McCarthy this year. His offense put up more points, and Caleb Williams isn't playing defense. I don't know what you want him to do to win games besides what he already did. They were putting up 50 points a game because of him, and I think some people are missing it with Caleb. Like, he is unbelievable, and I get the concern. He is a little smaller, and maybe there's some things I don't love his approach on the combine and everything. He's a little bit about himself for sure, but I think the character concerns are overblown. I mean, it's not like this dude got arrested or anything. His teammates seem to vouch for him, and I don't really care what clothes or nails my quarterback has, as long as my quarterback is as good as Caleb Williams. So I really think those things are getting overblown. And as a player, you just don't find guys like Caleb Williams all the time. And I think it would be stupid for a team to pass on him. The Bears are taking him, but there's people out there that think this guy is going to be a bust, and I just don't see it. He can be good from day one because he proved it in college. He was amazing in college. One of the best college quarterbacks production-wise we have seen. Won a Heisman as a sophomore, and as a freshman, he came in his first game and was awesome. I mean, you just don't see stuff like that all the time. So you're getting a special talent, and I think Caleb Williams is destined for greatness in the league. Could he win an MVP within his first contract? I don't think that's crazy to say. That'd kind of be my prediction, honestly. I think he's that good. Yeah, that's going to wrap up the video. If you enjoyed, please like, comment, and subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next one.